Calculating fractions. This presentation is suitable whether you're studying level 1 or level 2 maths. In the aims of this session, we will look at how to split a number into fractions, also how to work out fractional values, how to simplify fractions, and also how to work with mixed and top-heavy fractions. It's important that you're confident in multiplication and division for this task. Throughout the presentation, there will be several quizzes and activities which you can work on, and you may use a calculator for those activities. What are fractions? When we split a number into a series of smaller numbers, we're creating fractions of the original number. Ideally, the fractions that we make will be divisible by the original number, in that we'll be able to divide them into the original number. So, for example, 100 pounds divided by 10 equals 10 pounds. 10 lots of 10 make up 100. So 100 is the whole number, and the various tens that make up that 100 are fractions of this whole number. Each £10 figure represents a tenth of 100 pounds. So, for example, 10 pounds equals 1/10 of 100 pounds. 20 pounds equals 2/10 of 100 pounds. 30 pounds equals 3/10 of 100 pounds, and so on, all the way up to 100 pounds equaling 10/10 of 100 pounds. Parts of a fraction. A fraction is made up of two parts. We have a fraction here, 1/5. Now, the top number in a fraction is called a numerator. It tells you what value of a fraction that you have. The bottom number in a fraction is called a denominator. It tells you what the total number of fractions is that a number will be worth when all the parts have been totaled up. So whatever number we've split into fifths here, when we have 5/5, we will have the complete number, but there will be a value that represents 1/5 of another number. So, for example, if I were to split 25 into fifths, 1/5 of 25 would be worth 5, and 5/5 would be worth 25. We're going to try a quiz now in which we're going to create some fractions. All of these fractions should give you an answer of 1 over something. So you're going to work through the following calculations. Each calculation will show you what fraction each of the numbers is worth, and your answer should give you the lowest fraction value, 1 over something in each case. So in terms of how to work these out, we have just a couple of examples here. 100 divided by 10 equals 10. So your answer will be that 10 equals 1/10 of 100. Then we have the next example here. 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So that is 1/3 of 12. So in terms of what you're trying to work out, you're trying to do the division, which you would do here. 28 divided by 4. Find out what your answer is, and then write down as well that your answer is 1 over the second number in each of these division numbers. So each number that we have divided by will form the fractional, the denominator in the fractions that you're working out. So do the divisions first, and then next to them say what fraction they represent of the first number in each case. Okay. When I finish speaking, there will be 10 seconds before I go on to the next slide. So you may like to put the recording on pause. Just for anybody who cannot read the screen, I'll just read out what the calculations are that you have to do. 28 divided by 4, 25 divided by 5, 48 divided by 6, 49 divided by 7, 40 divided by 8, and 81 divided by 9. And the pause starts now. Okay, and here are the answers to that creating fractions quiz. So 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So the 4 was 1/3 of 12. 28 divided by 4 equals 7. So 7 was 1/4 of 28. 25 divided by 5 was 5, which is 1/5 of 25. 48 divided by 6 equals 8, which is 1/6 of 48. 49 divided by 7 equals 7, which is 1/7 of 49. 40 divided by 8 equals 5, which is 1/8 of 40. And 81 divided by 9 equals 9, which is 1/9 of 81. So the fractions that we've made so far all show us the basic fractional value, the lowest the fractional value, 1/3, 1/4, 1/6 of a number, and so on. So now we'll see how we can calculate higher fractional values. So here's a question. What is 40 as a fraction of 100? Now, in simple terms, I could show that fraction as simply 40 over 100, 40 100ths. But it's a bit cumbersome to write it that way. So I'm going to try and make it a bit more manageable. I need a number that will divide exactly into both numbers. Now, 10 will go into both 40 and 100. 40 divided by 10 equals 4, and 100 divided by 10 equals 10. So 40 as a fraction of 100 can be shown as 4/10. Just taking this on a bit further, what is 25 as a fraction of 60? We have an example here. So to work this out, again, I need to think of a number which can be multiplied exactly into both 25 and 60. 5 will go into both numbers, so I'll divide them both by 5. 25 divided by 5 equals 5, and 60 divided by 5 equals 12. So 25 as a fraction of 60 equals 5/12. Again, we have another example down here. What is 18 as a fraction of 63? Again, I need to think of a number that will go into both of those numbers. 9 will go into them both. So 18 divided by 9 equals 2, and 63 divided by 9 equals 7. So 18 as a fraction of 63 will equal 2/7. So we're going to get you to work through the following fractions. Again, in each case, you'll just need to think of a number that goes into both numbers to create fractions for both of these and divide them down in order to work out what fraction each of the following numbers is of each other. Some of the questions may have more than one possible answer. I'll just read through the fractions that the numbers that you're going to create fractions out of for anybody who cannot see what's on the screen. So we need you to try and work out what fraction 8 is of 12, 21 is of 28, 15 is of 25, 36 is of 36 of 48, what 28 is of 49, 32 of 40, and 45 of 81. There'll be a 10-second gap before I go on to the next slide, so you may like to put the video on pause while you work these out. So 8 out of 12 would be 2/3. 21 out of 28 is 3/4. 15 out of 25 is 3/5. 36 out of 48 is 6/8. 28 out of 49 is 4/7. 32 out of 40 is 4/5. And 45 out of 81 is 5/9. I appreciate you may have got some different answers. How I arrived at these, I thought of a number that would go into both 8 and 12. 4 would go into both 8 and 12, so I divided 8 by 4 to get 2 and 12 by 4 to get 3, which gave me 2/3. 21 out of 28, 7 would go into both 21 and 28, so 21 divided by 7 was 3, and 28 divided by 7 was 4. 15 out of 25, 5 would go into both numbers, so 15 divided by 5 gave me 3, and 25 divided by 5 gave me 5, to give a final fraction of 3/5. 36 out of 48, 6 would go into both those numbers, so 36 divided by 6 equals 6, and 48 divided by 6 equals 8. That gave me a final fraction there of 6/8. 28 out of 49, 7 would go into both of those numbers, so 28 divided by 7 equals 4, and 49 divided by 7 equals 7, so that gave a final fraction of 4/7. 32 out of 40, 8 would go into both those numbers. So 32 divided by 8 equals 4, and 40 divided by 8 equals 5, which gave a final fraction of 4/5. And finally, 45 out of 81, 9 would go into both of those numbers. So 45 divided by 9 gave me 5, and 81 divided by 9 gave me 9, to give a final fraction of 5/9. So we've looked at how to create fractions. Now we're going to look at how we work out fractional values and how we use fractions to work out calculations to give us monetary values and other numerical calculations based on real world situations. So we have an example here. Last week, Jodie made £80 in tips. This week, the amount of tips she made was 3/4 more than she did the previous week. A, how much more did Jodie make this week? And B, what was the total amount that she made? So to work this out, I'm going to start by dividing 80 by the bottom number, the denominator in the fraction that we've been given. We're told that she made 3/4 more money in tips this week. So I'm going to divide 80 by 4, which equals 20. And then I'm going to multiply that answer by the top number in the numerator in the fraction. So the fraction is 3/4. So 20 times 3 equals 60. So 3/4 of 80 equals £60. So she made £60 more this week in tips. And if I add that to the previous week's total, it will show the total amount that she made that week. £80 plus £60 equals £140. Just with the process there, always find out if you're given these fractions, find out what 1/4 or 1/5 or 1/7 is worth as your first step, and then multiply that answer by the top number in order to get the answer that you're looking for. Get another example using fractional values. So in the last week before lockdown, 100,000 people traveled across the Leeds metro system. The following week, the number of people using the service had dropped by 3/5. How many people used the service the following week? So we start by taking the figure that had used it in the first week, 100,000, and divide that by 5 to find what 1/5 is worth. So 100,000 divided by 5 equals 20,000. That's what 1/5 is worth. Then we multiply that 20,000 figure by 3, because the fractional value, it had dropped by 3/5. So 20,000 times 3 equals 60,000, which is what 3/5 is worth. We want to find out how many people use the service the following week. So we just do 100,000, take away 60,000, and that gives us an answer of 40,000 people used the metro service that week. So we're going to get you to work out the fractional values of the following numbers. As I say, in each case, just divide the number by the denominator, the bottom number, and then multiply your answer by the numerator, the top number, in order to get your answers. I'll just read the numbers out for anybody who cannot see the screen. The calculations you're going to do are 3/4 of 40, 5/8 of 16, 3/7 of 42, 10/12 of 96, 4/5 of 55, and 2/6 of 72. There'll be a 10-second lag now. Email it to put the video on pause while you do the calculations. And here are the answers. 3/4 of 40 equals 30. So 40 divided by 4 equals 10, times that by 3 equals 30. 5/8 of 16 equals 10. So 16 divided by 8 equals 2, times that by 5 equals 10. So just make a change there. So I just made an amendment there. So 5/8 of 16 equals 10. 16 divided by 8 equals 2, times that by 5 equals 10. 3/7 of 42 equals 18. 42 divided by 7 equals 6, times that by 3 equals 18. 10/12 of 96 equals 80. 96 divided by 12 equals 8, times that by 10 equals 80. 4/5 of 55 equals 44. 55 divided by 5 equals 11, times that by 4 equals 44. And finally, 2/6 of 72 equals 24. 72 divided by 6 equals 12, and times that by 2 equals 24. So we have a couple of fractional values problems for you to work out, 3 questions for you to work out. I'll just read these out before you start working them out. So a coat costs £60. £60. In a sale, its price is reduced by 2/5. What is the new price of the coat? Brendan goes to the betting shop with £120 to bet on horse races. When he's finished, the amount of money he took in has increased by 3/8. How much money does he have now? And Shelley is selling her bike for £75. She reduces the price by 1/5. How much is she selling the bike for now? So again, there'll be a 10-second lag before the next slide. You may like to put the video on pause while you work through these questions. Okay, so the price of the coat was reduced to £36 in the sale. So it was reduced by 2/5. So 60 divided by 5 equals 12. 12 times 2 equals 24. 60 take away 24 equals 36. Brendan took home £165 in all, based on what he went in with £120. His winnings, the amount of money he'd taken in, had increased by 3/8 by the time he left. So 120 divided by 8 equals £15. £15 times 3 equals £45. So £120 plus £45 equals £165. And Shelley, after reducing her bike by a 1/5, was now selling it for £60. So it was £75 was the starting price. £75 divided by 5 equals 15. 15 times 1 equals 15. 75 take away 15 means that the bike is now selling for £60. Sometimes you'll be asked in a question to simplify a fraction. As much as possible, fractions are often presented to people in the simplest possible form. So we have an example here. In a class of 33 learners, 11 of them had birthdays in April. What fraction of the class is this? Now, strictly speaking, the fraction would be 11/33, but just try saying 11/33 and see how far you get. So in order to make the figure more manageable, again, I need to divide the top and bottom number by a figure that will go into both of them. I know that 11 will go into both 11 and 33, so 11 divided by 11 equals 1, and 33 divided by 11 equals 3. As a result, I've simplified 11/33 to the much more manageable 1/3. If you are asked to simplify a fraction, once you get the numerator, the top number, reading as a 1, you cannot simplify the fraction any further. Sometimes if we try to simplify fractions, it can take more than one stage in order to get the fraction down to its lowest possible terms. So here's an example. Simplify 24 and 40 to its lowest terms. So I'm going to divide both numbers by 4 because both of them will go into those numbers. 24 divided by 4 equals 6, and 40 divided by 4 equals 10. So the new fraction is now 6/10. But I can simplify this fraction further too if I divide both numbers by 2. So 6 divided by 2 equals 3, and 10 divided by 2 equals 5. The new fraction is 3/5. I can't simplify this fraction any further because there's no number which will go into both 3 and 5. So 24/40 is 3/5 when reduced to its lowest possible terms. So when you're simplifying fractions down, just look at what you've got and think to yourself, okay, are there any other numbers that will go into both of the figures I have in this fraction? If there are, then you can take it down even further. So we'd like you to simplify the following fractions to their lowest possible terms. I'll just read them out for anybody who can't see them. 18 21s, 16 32s, 15 45ths, 27 36ths, 14 18ths, and 54/90. There'll be a 10-second lag before the next slide, so you may like to put the video on pause while you work these out. Okay, so the answers to that, 18/21s simplifies down to 6/7. Divide both numbers by 3. 18 divided by 3 equals 6, and 21 divided by 3 equals 7. 6/7. 16/32s can be reduced to a half. Now I could divide both numbers by 16. 16 divided by 16 equals 1, and 32 divided by 16 equals 2. Again, I can divide both numbers by 2, or by 4 and 2 as well. Can go through numerous stages. 15/45 can simplify down to 1/3. Again, I could divide both numbers by 15, because 15 divided by 15 would equal 1, and 45 divided by 15 would equal 3. I could divide both numbers by 3. 15 divided by 3 equals 5, and 45 divided by 3 equals 15. So that would be 5/15, and then I could divide both numbers by 5 in order to simplify that by that down again. So 5 divided by 5 would be 1, and 15 divided by 5 would be 3. 27 divided by 27/36, that would simplify down to 3/4. So I could divide both numbers by 9. 27 divided by 9 equals 3, and 36 divided by 9 equals 4. I can also divide both numbers by 3. 27 divided by 3 equaling 9, and 36 divided by 3 equals 12. So that would give me 9/12, and then I would divide both numbers by 3 again to get me down to 3/4. 14/18 can be simplified down to 7/9. If I divide both numbers by 2, 14 divided by 2 equals 7, and 18 divided by 2 equals 9. And finally, 54/90 simplifies down to 3/5. If I divide both numbers by 9, 54 divided by 9 equals 6, and 90 divided by 9 equals 10. So that would be 6/10. And then divide both those numbers by 2. So 6 divided by 2 would be 3, and 10 divided by 2 would be 5 to give me 3/5. If you have a fraction in which the top number, the numerator, is bigger than the bottom number, this is known as a top-heavy fraction. It's the fractional equivalent of showing that you have more of something than you need. So for example, 13/8 is 8/8 plus 5/8. 12/9 is 9/9 plus 3/9. 15/7 is 7/7 plus 7/7 plus 1/7. We don't often show values as top-heavy fractions. They're more likely to be shown as a mixed number, which is where you get a whole number and a fractional number written together. Here's an example. What is 10/8 as a mixed number? Now, the fraction is given to us in eighths. 8/8 is a complete set of eighths. It represents one whole set of eighths. So I can show that number as a whole number, 1. To get from 8/8 to 10/8, I need to add 2/8. So I can show the number as 1 and 2/8. I can also simplify the 2/8 by dividing both numbers by 2. So this will make it into 1/4. So as a result, 10/8 as a mixed number is 1 1/4. Let's look at it with some slightly larger numbers. So what is 31/6 as a mixed number? So a quick way to work this out is to divide the top number by the bottom number, because this will give me the whole number part of this mixed number. 31 divided by 6 equals 5.16. Okay, so the number of units in this answer will be our whole number, 5. So now I'm going to use that 5 to help me work out the fraction part of the mixed number. I'm going to multiply the 5 by the 6. 5 times 6 equals 30. So 36ths is equivalent to the whole number 5, we have 1/6 left over to get from 36 to 31/6. So the fraction part of the mixed number will be worth 1/6. So 31/6 as a mixed number equals 5 1/6. We can go the other way as well. We can convert a mixed number into a top-heavy fraction. So we have an example here. Convert 2 2/3 to a top-heavy fraction. So our whole number in this mixed number is 2. So we know that we use 2 sets of 3/3 to get that whole number. We multiply the denominator, the bottom number, in 3/3 by 2 in order to find out how many thirds that makes. So 2 times 3 equals 6. So this gives us 6/3, which is how many thirds make up the whole number 2. And we have to add another 2/3 to that value. So 6/3 plus 2/3 equals 8/3. So 2 2/3, when we convert it to a top-heavy fraction, is 8/3. So we're going to get you to convert the following top-heavy fractions into mixed numbers, and then convert the following mixed numbers into top-heavy fractions. So I'll just read the top-heavy fractions that need to be converted into mixed numbers first of all. 7/4, 9/5, 23/7, and 28. And the mixed numbers that we're going to convert into top-heavy fractions are 1 2/5, 2 4/7, 3 1/6, and 7 2/7. A 10-second gap before the next slide, so you may like to put the video on pause. And if you wish to go back and look and see about the method used in some of the previous ones, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay, so the answers that we got: 7/4 when converted to a mixed number equals 1 3/4. The 1 represents 4/4, plus we have 3/4 to add on to that, so that becomes 1 3/4. The 9/5 equals 1 4/5. The 1 represents 5/5, plus we have the 4/5 to add to that, so 1 4/5. 23/7 equals 3 2/7. The 3/7, the whole number 3 represents 21/7, plus 2/7 helps takes us up to would take us to 23/7, so that would be 3 2/7. 28 equals 2 1/2. The 2, the whole number 2, is worth 16/8. Plus there are another 4/8 to add on top of that to get us to 28. But again, 4/8 is a number which we can is a fraction that we can simplify if we divide both top and bottom by 4. So that simplifies down to 1/2. So 28 equals 2 1/2. If we're converting mixed numbers into top-heavy fractions, 1 2/5 equals 7/5. So 1 times 5 will give us the 5/5, plus we have the 2/5 to add on top of that, which gives us 7/5. 2 4/7 would equal 18/7. We take the whole number 2 and multiply the denominator in the 7th fraction. So 2 times 7 equals 14/7, plus we have 4/7 to add on top of that, which takes us to 18/7. 3 1/6 equals 19/6. Again, I take the whole number, the 3, and multiply it by the 6ths. So 3 times 6 equals 18/6, plus 1/6 to add on top of that equals 19/6. And 7 2/7 equals 51/7. So I take the whole number 7 and I multiply that by the denominator 7. So 7 times 7 equals 49/7, plus 2/7 to add on top of that gives us 51/7. So in summary, fractions represent the parts of a number that make up a whole number. Whatever the amount of parts we split the number into will be represented by fractions. The top number in a fraction is called the numerator, and the bottom number is called a denominator. We look for relationships between fractions and numbers by dividing them by numbers which will go into both top and bottom number, and we can simplify fractions down to their lowest possible form. We can show fractions either with a higher top number than bottom one, or we can convert them into mixed numbers which combine whole numbers and fractions. If you're looking for further work on this, I would suggest going to BKSB and into Maths Reforms. Click on Number and into Fractions, Decimals, Percentages and Ratio. You can go either to the Level 1 resource or the Level 2 resource, and there are a number of activities covering what we've looked at in fractions in this video.